Yo, freaks and geeks, welcome back to Black Heart Productions.
Yes, sir.
This is Tina again.
It is me, Fern, fleck, Fern Dizzle.
Tina, go away.
And we're here to do
another review
on
the shizzing.
The shizzing of the shiznit.
The Shining.
The Shining, folks. One of the most classic fucking movies in horror history.
Yes, one of the best.
One of the best.
In my opinion.
It is. It really is.
I don't know, actually. Sometimes I think about The Shining, I'm like, is it a matter of opinion? Because I really think it's one of the best ever. Even outside of horror. That you can ask the critics, too.
Yeah. Go talk to them.
But no, so The Shining, for those of you who don't know, it's a Stephen King novel that he wrote in 1977, I believe. And then Stanley Kubrick adapted it into his own Vision film in 1984. And there's quite a lot of differences in the movie from the book, so we'll try not to talk about the book too much because it's really different. I mean, it's the same, but there's major differences. And
some that you probably could say weren't even a part of the book at all.
They weren't, yeah. There was a lot of weird shit. Stanley Kubrick was a weird dude.
He was a fucking weirdo, too.
He was a genius, though, and he's one of my favorite directors of all time. But, so let's jump right into the beginning.
This is a movie taking place in Colorado.
Where is it at in Colorado? I forget.
Rocks.
It's like
Colorado Springs, I think.
The family lives in Boulder.
Yeah.
I don't know. So this... Oh, God, sorry. It's at McDonald's, dude. So this takes place in 1984, and we're introduced to Jack right off the bat, and he's driving up this hill and up the mountain, and it's playing like some ominous, ghostly, creepy music. And
giving us some nice scenery of the place while he's driving.
Yeah, and it was a really cool shot too, because this was before drones, so that was a whole helicopter shot right there, and it's a really cool fucking opening, you know. And the music is so eerie, and when I don't know, it's movies like that you could tell it's really going to be different from any other horror movie, especially in the 80s, you know, because a lot of 80s horror was kind of similar.
Maybe this one was very different compared to all the others.
Yeah, way different. So yeah, Jack is driving up to the Overlook Hotel. Now, I guess we should probably mention this is based on a real hotel. It's called the Stanley Hotel. I've stayed there before. It's in Estes Park, Colorado. Stephen King stayed in this hotel. Jim Carrey stayed in this hotel while they were filming Dumb and Dumber. Off topic, Dumb and Dumber. When that hotel, you know, when he's fucking racing her up the stairs and like grabbing her, that's the Shining Hotel right there. Not the one from the Stanley movie, but the hotel it's based on. And it's one of the most haunted places in America, so it's legit.
It's a legit horror
hotel. It's really a nice hotel though. But yeah, Stephen King stayed there. Had some weird experiences, wrote the fucking book. There we go. So yeah, we get up to the Overlook. Now, like I said, it's not the same as the Stanley Hotel. I think this hotel, it's in Colorado, but it's a ski resort.
Yeah, it's a... I think so. Yeah.
I forgot what it's called. It's definitely not called the Overlook. But we get to the Overlook. And Jack walks in, and this was one of the first... I just learned this. One of the first uses of a steady camera, and Stanley Kubrick obviously murdered that shit and did it well because he's Stanley fucking Kubrick. And I noticed the first shot of Jack walking in, it's all one shot all the way until he gets back to Ullman's office. So that's kind of cool. It's a little weird though because you're already seeing paintings on the wall that reference to Native Americans and like, you know, just offbeat shit.
And then he's going in to get the job, essentially. And the way they talk, I just want to mention where they're like, well, sit down, have a drink. All right, if you don't say.
Mm-hmm.
The dialogue is fucking...
It's
sick. It's very proper, too.
I feel like you can really see in Jack that he'll pretty much say anything to get this job. Like, this dude because, alright, Mr. Ullman, in the book, he's a dick. But in the movie, he's not really a dick. He's like a normal, nice dude. His little assistant, he doesn't like Jack, though. You can kind of catch that vibe off the bat.
Yeah, he's just like, who's this?
Yeah, giving him shit looks. And,
they get some tea and they're discussing. Mister tells him what the history of the hotel is. And you can tell Jack is desperate or something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, because he's just like, that's all right.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Like,
he says, he's like, yeah, some folks suffer from cabin fever or whatever. And he's like, that's not going to happen with me.
yeah.
Yeah. And it does, too. Fucking spoiler alert, it does.
It does happen. If we have to spoiler alert you for this movie, I don't. You need to reconsider.
Yeah, you should probably go watch it first.
Yeah.
Because we're going to spoil everything. But, fuck.
So he gets the job. We get a shot back to, we get an introduction of the other characters. His wife and his child.
This is down in Boulder.
Yep. They're back home. And, he got a little friend.
Tony. And see, Jack hasn't called Wendy yet to let her know that he has a job, but Danny already knows.
Yeah.
But he doesn't tell his mom that. But
Tony tells Danny.
In the bathroom when he's brushing his teeth, and Danny's like, Tony, why don't you want to go to the hotel? And he's like, I don't know.
And then finally he shows little Willis why he don't want to go to the fucking hotel. And
it's a blood evader.
It's a blood evader. Fucking he's seeing the twins, like, and he blacks out.
Mm. Yeah, he blacks out, has a little episode, and then
doctor's
like a child doctor comes and visits.
And then we find out that Jack smacked the fuck out of, or broke his collar.
Yeah. No, he broke his arm.
Broke his arm, dislocated something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he was like messing up his papers. So, and Jack, a little background on him. I guess he used to be a real bad alcoholic, and he's sober now. But I don't know. Jack Nicholson does a really good job of playing a dude who you could tell is about to fucking snap.
Yeah. Even when he's just sitting there, you're like, this man is...
You don't trust him. It's like, that's what I meant in the interview when he's sitting there. He's like, oh, well, you know, Charles Grady killed these people in here. That's okay with me.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen with me.
Yeah, just straight up. Just...
That's why he made a good joke.
Yeah, and he's just like,
yeah.
Hey.
One thing I forgot to mention, though, in that interview, Ullman does tell Jack about Charles Grady, which was the last caretaker of the hotel. And I don't think we explained what the job was. The job for Jack is to watch over the hotel over the winter because, like, it's on top of a mountain, so they can have absolutely no business during the Colorado winter on the middle of a mountain, you know, because no one's going to be able to get up there. So, but someone has to watch over the hotel, maintain every, you know, the boiler and all that shit so it don't fucking collapse or explode, and, you know. So that's Jack's job. And Ullman tells him about Grady. He had 2 twins. He killed them, killed his wife with an axe, and stuffed him in a closet and then blew his brains out.
Fucking hell.
And, you know, he tells Jack this, and he's just like,
oh, well.
Well, all right.
Yeah.
Like, pretty much, you know.
He's just completely cool with everything. And normally a person would be like,
yeah,
fuck this.
I'd reconsider.
Yeah, he did not. He was...
So, yeah, we get back to Danny in the bathroom, and Tony tells him, or he's like, Tony, do you think Dad got the job? And Tony's like,
Yes, he's gonna call Wendy in a few minutes to tell her.
And then he does.
yep.
And then.
And then that's when Tony shows him the blood evader.
Yep.
And then he blacks out.
And then, so we don't get to see the gathering of the family or anything. It's just a shot of them traveling up to.
Yeah, it's almost the same shot as the opening, like we mentioned with the helicopter and the mountain. Almost the exact same. Now we just got the whole family, and
they're still being weird.
Yeah, there's still some weird eerie music going on, but it's not as sinister as the opening.
And Tony asks him what, or not Tony. Little man asks. He asks Jack a question. I forgot the question.
Or something about where they're at, and they find out that they're near Donner Pass, which is where, in the 1800s, a famous story of caravanners and like settlers, or they're traveling through the mountain and they got caught in a real nasty snowstorm, and they eventually ended up eating all of eat each other, and Danny asks Jack about that, and Wendy's like, Jack, don't tell him like that. And he's like, it's all right, Dad, I saw it on TV.
And Jack's like, there you go, honey, he's seen it on TV.
Yeah, he's like,
He saw it on the television.
Yeah.
Fuck,
So
man.
the whole time he's just a fucking
He's
goofball.
Yeah, like I said, he's definitely a man that looks like he's on the verge of just snapping at any second.
Yep.
And the first time you see this movie, I feel like you get that feeling, like this dude can fucking just break at any point right now.
Yep.
So we get to the hotel, and then we meet Ullman again and the little shithead assistant, and then we meet another really important character who is named Dick.
Yep.
Dick Halloran, played by Scatman Crothers.
Scatman!
Yeah.
Oh, this man has one big ass fucking nose.
Yeah. Holy fuck.
No hate, I love Scatman Crothers, but
His...
there's a scene in this movie where he's like, and almost the whole screen is his nostrils. But no, we find out quickly, they just start going through the tour, showing them everything, showing Wendy the kitchen, blah blah blah, and Danny and Wendy are with Dick in the food pantry, and then this is where we learn what The Shining essentially is, I guess. Like, we figure out that Dick has The Shining too.
Yep.
Because he looks at Danny and he shines with him, which means basically communicating
telepathically.
Yeah, without speaking, I guess. I don't know.
And he's like, "Do you want some ice cream, Danny?"
He calls him Doc.
Yeah.
They haven't called him Doc yet. So then they get him some ice cream, and he says, "Oh, what's your favorite ice cream, Doc?" He says, "Chocolate." And then Wendy's like, "Why did you call him Doc? Like, we haven't called him that since he's been here." And he's just like, well, he looks like a Doc. What's up, Doc? But yeah, so see, that's just weird right there. That shows you that Dick is also a special man.
Yeah. So they go get some ice cream, and he's asking him about his shining ability without trying to make him too uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm. Kind of asking him like how long he's
been able to do it.
Yeah.
And then he tells him a background story of him and his grandma shining. And then we cut to back to.
Well, Danny starts asking about room 217.
Oh yes.
And then he's like, "What do you know about room 217?" And he's like, "You're afraid of that room, ain't you?" And he's like, "Nope, I am not." Or something, but he's like, "You don't go in that room,
no matter what."
He's like, "You folks got no business in that room."
And then Danny's just like,
yeah, just kind of like,
all right.
Then it cuts to everyone's gone. I don't know exactly where we're at in terms of time, but everyone's gone. The storm is settled. Wendy's making food. Jack's upstairs sleeping. Danny's playing with cars. We're all alone in this hotel now. Now, this is where the creepy shit starts happening.
Yes.
So we get a nice little scene where Wendy wakes Jack up, And he's already acting like he's a fucking weirdo, like my neighbor. Not you.
Yeah.
But he's already acting like a fucking weirdo.
Yep.
And he's like, you know, it's just the weirdest thing. He's like, I've had deja vu, but this was something else. He's like, I feel like I've just been here before. I just belong here.
Yeah, I've been that. Every time he was showing me a room, I already knew it.
Yeah, yeah. And then we cut to another day, I think, right after that.
Yeah.
And then I think this is where, I think it shows like Jack is, I think he's a mind exercising when he's throwing that tennis ball at the wall, and Danny's kind of just riding his bike around.
His little tiny tricycle. He's like, beep, 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 beep.
And see, this is what makes The Shining so iconic, is these long hallway shots of
little
Danny on the tricycle.
Just skedaddling, and it's kind of eerie, you know, seeing a child from the backside, like just.
And if you guys know Kubrick movies well, you know he likes to use like parallel shots with like long hallways with the camera like right in the middle and stuff. So it's a
classic.
Yeah, it's perfect.
And he's just fucking sitting there, and then
I think we cut to the next day again, honestly, because
I feel like he stops and sees the twins when he's riding his bike.
Yeah. Yep. Oh, yeah, we forgot to mention, when Danny first shows up at the hotel, he sees the twins.
Yeah.
He's in the game room playing darts while his parents are talking to Ullman and shit. And,
the little bitches walk in.
Yeah, and they just stare at him.
Turn around and walk out, and Danny's just like, what the fuck? But
the music that plays right there, you could just tell it was, like, off. They like, those little girls were not supposed to be there.
Yeah.
And I think Danny looked at them and he knew.
Yeah, he definitely knew that those girls were.
It's like his breathing started getting all heavy and shit. Like, not because he got a boner either.
Yeah, not because his little boner was like, ooh.
Yeah, his little pec didn't stand up. That was his heart jumping out his chest.
Yeah, he was like, oh, fuck, I'm about to die or something. It was definitely anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
And not from Pecker.
So I think back to where we were, I'm pretty sure this is where Danny runs into the twins. And they're standing at the end of the hall, which is one of the most iconic horror scenes of all time, by the way.
You catch that on shirts and shit.
And he just stops on his trike and they're like,
hello, Donnie.
Come and play. And then it cuts between like shots of them dead on the floor.
Yeah.
And then them standing there.
And then they're like, forever and ever and ever.
Yeah.
And then Danny does this and, you know, just kind of tries to jump back to reality. Snap back into reality. Oh, there goes gravity. Fucking, and he's just like, remember what Mr. Halloran said, they're just pictures in a book. But he knows they're fucking there, dude. I think Dick knows. We all fucking know they're there. Yeah. God damn it. So then we cut to Jack again, and he's writing, and this is when he's a dick. This is when I think this is when Jack starts slowly
turning to the dark side of
the
force. Cause he's all like, with his crazy ass eyes, like.
She brings him a sandwich, and he's in there going hard as fuck on the typeboard. And she's like, hi, hon, I brought you a sandwich. And he's like, thank you. And she's like, oh, maybe later we can go for a walk or something. I heard it was going to be nice or something like that. And he's like, can't you see I'm busy?
Yep, and then he just, when you hear, is that the part where he's like, when you hear.
No, she's like, all right, well, maybe I'll come back later with a couple more sandwiches and you can let me read something. And he, I love the camera when it cuts to him. It cuts to him looking at her like this.
Yeah.
He's like, Wendy, let me explain something to you. He's like, whenever you come in here and you hear me typing, click, click, clap.
Yeah, he's all.
He's like, whether you don't hear me typing, whether the fuck I'm in here, he's like, that means don't come in here. And then he's like, you think you can handle that? She's just like,
he's like,
good.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah, why don't you start right now and get the fuck out of here?
Yeah.
So she leaves, probably went and cried.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think the next scene is her and Danny going through the maze. Now, I don't think we mentioned the maze yet. There's a huge
ass maze.
Yeah, outside the hotel, and it is huge.
It's a hedge maze.
Yep, and I think Ullman even said that people get lost in it all the time. Yep. So to be careful because there's not any guides around. If they're going to play in the maze, you know, that they're kind of on their own. So they go play in the maze, and then it cuts to Jack staring at him out the window. And this is what I call the Kubrick stare, or what everyone calls the Kubrick stare. You know, fucking Private Pile had it in Full Metal Jacket.
And he's just...
fucking Clockwork Orange. You know, all them movies, they all have that Kubrick stare where they're just like... So Jack's really starting to slip here.
Yeah,
really starting to...
He's losing his shit.
Mm.
And he's losing his shit, and then he's, you can tell he's definitely thinking about something. Fucked. Then we cut to, fuck, what is the next part?
I want to say it's like around when...
Because the only part my brain can remember after that is when he's walking through the hotel, and then he sees like the ballroom.
Oh no, there's another scene before this. It's when Danny and Wendy are in the downstairs living room, and Danny wants to go get another Hot Wheel from upstairs, another little car from upstairs, and she's like, "Well, come on, your dad just went to bed. You know, let him sleep for a while."
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'll be quiet. I won't make any noise." She's like, "All right, well, you gotta be really quiet." So he goes up there, and he creaks the door open all slow like you do when you're a child. And his dad, Jack, is just sort of sitting on the bed, looking at the floor, looking all fucking evil and weird.
Then he tells him,
"Come here for a second.
Come here." Sits him on his lap and everything. Oh. And he all tells him, "You know I wouldn't hurt you, right?"
Then
something like that.
He's like, "Did your mother ever say I'd hurt you?"
Yep.
And then he's like, "I want you to like it here. I love it here."
Yep.
And he's like, "Don't you like it here, Danny?" He's like, "Yes, Dad."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Good." Or something.
Yeah, he is.
So, and then I think we cut to Danny again. He's playing in the hallway with some toys, and we see this ball roll up to him.
Oh yeah,
like perfectly.
How did I forget that? Yeah,
it's because it's a long ass movie.
Yeah,
I'm gonna let these animals out.
Yeah,
they shut the door on themselves. Idiots.
It's iconic. This iconic ball scene. Dude, the ball's just...
He's on second floor in the middle of the hallway playing with his cars again. And this little bouncy ball just rolls up to him, and he looks down the hall and no one's there. So he's like, "Mom? You know, Dad? Anyone?" So he starts walking.
What fucking room is open, do you think?
217 with the key in the fucking handle still cracked open.
Yeah.
So Danny walks in, and then that scene's over. We don't see exactly what happens. So it cuts to Wendy. She's kind of taking notes on the boiler, just doing some of the work around the hotel, whatever. Then we hear Jack like hollering, like giving out these weird screams, like he's in trouble. Yeah, like he's in trouble.
Like that.
So she runs into his writing room,
and he's got a nightmare.
Yeah, he's having a bad nightmare. Then she wakes him up, and he literally like falls on the floor, and he's freaking the fuck out, like drooling and shit. And let's just say Jack Nicholson is one of the greatest fucking actors ever, especially because of The Shining and Batman. Yeah. And of course other movies, but
he explains his dream to her, and it's pretty much what the old character he murders Wendy and little Chuck Buck here.
Mm-hmm.
Little Junior here. He claps him.
But he tells him, I didn't just kill you though. I chopped you up into little bits.
Yeah, he chopped him up into little pieces, both of them. And then Danny comes walking in, and he's got a little strangulation on his. Got a little bruise on his neck, like someone chokeslammed him about night, like the fucking Undertaker got a hold of him.
Yeah, and he walks in like sucking his thumb, and he's like kind of waddling, like really slow.
Yeah,
he's just not saying anything. And Wendy's like, "What the fuck?" Runs up to him, and she's like, "What happened to you? What happened?" And he just won't say anything, and like,
so she assumes it's Jack.
Yeah,
again,
because it's happened before. And there's no one else around. Who else would have done it, you know? And she just picks Danny up and looks over and she's like, "You did this, didn't you?" And
Jack's
he's
like,
just sitting there. He's like,
"Yep." Doesn't even say anything. He just.
And then she's like, "You son of a bitch!"
And walks away.
And then his face changes to this.
Yeah, it does. And he's just. And to me, this is where it picks up, like, where you pick up, like, he's like transforming.
Yeah, I feel like this is really where he snaps.
Yeah, because
especially
now he thinks his family doesn't trust him.
So
and he thinks like, oh fuck, she's over here worried about all this shit, but she's not worried about me
or the hotel. And he's really focused on his book that he's writing in the hotel. I've noticed a lot. Jack puts himself before his family quite a bit in this movie. Everything's about Jack. And that's why he gets so angry at Wendy when she's just trying to talk to him or whatever, you know. It's just, he's just an asshole.
He's a douche canoe.
So we cut to, Jack's walking to the ballroom and he's having a meltdown. He's fucking doing an invisible pogo stick and flailing. And
literally. he keeps doing that.
He's like,
yeah.
And then he enters the ballroom and he goes and sits at the bar and he's like doing this and he's like, I don't know. I remember the first few times I didn't notice him say it, but he's like, "I'd give my soul for just one glass of beer."
And then, bam.
There's Lloyd. Ugly fucking.
Fucking Lloyd. Lloyd is the bartender.
Hello, Mr. Torrance.
In the bar. He's the ghost bartender. So proper, and he's an ugly motherfucker.
It's creepy, dude. It's honestly a creepy scene.
And he's just like, but here's a weird thing. Jack already knows him.
Yeah. Like he addresses him as Lloyd right away.
Like he's no stranger to Lloyd at all.
Mm-mm.
And he's just having a conversation with him. He's like,
he even tells him, he's like, "You were the best damn bartender there ever was," and
just having conversation. And he's like, "I forgot my cash," and he's like, "On the house, Mr. Johnson."
Yeah.
No.
And he starts kind of venting to Lloyd about how he never meant to hurt Danny when he broke his arm. He just wanted to get him away from his work. And he's saying to Lloyd, he's like, "No matter how long I live, that bitch will never let me forget about it. And fuck her. And I love Danny. And I would never hurt him. You know, fuck her. Why did she say that to him? Fuck."
Yeah, he's pissed.
Yeah, he's pissed the fuck off. And then Wendy comes running in there with a bat in her hand, and she's face full of tears, and she's
with her ugly ass. Ooh.
Shelley Duvall's a good actress.
She is, but she has a ugly cry.
She does, and she's like a piggy when she cries. She's like,
and she tells him there's someone else in the hotel. There's a woman.
And if you notice the way Jack looks at her and talks to her, it's almost like he's drunk. Because he's like, "Are you out of your fucking mind?"
Yeah, he does say that.
And so she's like, "No, really? And so
they go check it out. That's fucking hilarious. He is like, are you out of your fucking mind?
Yeah, dude. Well, I've always wondered, like, was he actually drinking right there? Because Lloyd gave him something.
Yeah, and then, but when
Wendy runs up, he's not drinking nothing. No one's there. But, see, like, in the scene when Lloyd is talking to him, the bar is completely stocked behind him.
Yep,
And then when Wendy runs up, it's not.
And he goes and checks out this room, sees a nice, sexy-ass lady from the 80s climbing out, and she's like, oh, and he's like...
Yeah, and this is room 217.
Yep, he goes up to room 17, looks in there, and this hot-ass lady in the 80s comes up to him, and he's just like, pretty much enjoying the scene he's getting. She's butt-ass naked, got her bush hanging out and everything. Yep. It's a mean bush. It looks like my head.
It's like the maze outside.
Yeah, it's a mean bush, and she's just walking up to him. She hugs him,
and they start making out.
And then he fucking like opens his eyes and sees that this is a ugly ass, old ass like
zombie,
water rotted zombie.
You see, like, cause like they're standing in front of the mirror. And her back is to the mirror, so he opens his eyes and, like, sees her nasty butt with fucking boils and green holes all over her. And so Jack, he kind of just backs up and he's like, what the fuck? You know, and when it shows her, it's almost like she's a witch. She's like,
yeah, she's laughing at him. She's laughing. And he runs out of the room, and the scene ends with her just still sitting there like...
Yeah. And Jack locks that door behind him, and then he goes back to their room, and Wendy has the door locked, and she opens it, and Jack just walks in. He's like, no one was in that room. He's like, I think Danny's just having another episode or whatever, and she's all crying, and he's trying to... This is like the nicest I've seen Jack act for like just a few seconds in this movie, but
he shows some sympathy.
Yeah, and then she's like, he tells her, he's like, I think Danny did that to himself. And then she doesn't agree and blah, blah, blah. And she says she thinks something weird is going on. And then the second she says, I think we need to leave the hotel, he fucking loses it.
Yep.
He's like, why would we do that? And she's like, well, you know, we can get in the Sidewinder, which is like a snow car, and, you know, I'll get Danny down the mountain. And he's like, you fucking stupid bitch. You know, you don't give a fuck about this job or what it means to me, and I have a responsibility to hold. And he's like, I've let you fuck everything up, or fuck everything else up in my life. Not this one, Wendy. Not this time.
Yep.
And then he storms out, goes down to the kitchen, starts fucking throwing pans everywhere.
And he's just like, he's just as pissed as he was.
Then he goes back to the ballroom, and now there's a whole fucking party going on in there.
Everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
There's people sitting, and he walks right up to the bar. Hello, mister. And then he grabs another drink, and he starts to walk around, just, enjoying the party. And someone bumps into him.
With a tray of drinks.
Yep.
And he spills on his jacket.
And everyone knows his name.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Johnson. Or whatever the fuck they call him.
Who?
Everyone, when he's picking him up, cleaning him up, he's like, sorry, sir.
Mr. Torrance?
Yeah, Mr. Torrance.
Yeah. He's like, oh, so sorry, Mr. Torrance. He's like, it's alright.
Yeah, and he's just like...
He's like, let's go to the bathroom so I could get some water. It'll come out nicer or whatever. Come out of your shirt better.
And so Jack's just like...
He's like, alright.
Just follows him in. Then it starts getting dark.
Dude, honestly, this scene right here, to me, is the scariest scene in the movie. Just because of how still the scene is. You could feel the tenseness in this scene between these two when they're conversating, because of the music outside playing in the ballroom, and it's just like, you know, this is a fucking ghost, dude. So it's even more scary. But so they start talking or whatever. And Jack's like, what's your name again? And he's like, Delbert, sir. Delbert Grady. And he's like, Grady?
Don't I know you?
He's like, Delbert Grady, huh? He's like, didn't I read about you before or something? Or he's like, well, no, sir. Oh, I don't believe so. And then he's like, Mr. Grady, you were the caretaker at this hotel once. And he's just like, well, I don't recall that at all, sir.
Yeah, just straight denying it.
Now, a little thing I caught here is, I still don't know what the whole meaning behind this is, but in the beginning, when Ullman tells Jack about the situation that happened, he calls the dude Charles Grady, not Delbert.
And I think Charles, or Dick Delbert, whoever it is, he's not even completely honest.
No.
To begin with, because he says, he starts off with denying it, and then he finally fesses up and is like, I had to get rid of my children.
Yeah,
because and he pretty much just went fucking loony and clapped his family and admits it to him in like the next few minutes. And he convinces Jack, he's just like, he convinces him like that they're getting in the way.
Yeah, that he's foiling Jack's plans and Jack's future. And he tells Jack, he's like, your son has a very special talent, and he intends to use that talent to destroy the hotel or something like that. And then he tells him about Dick. He knows about Dick coming too, because Danny shined to Dick.
Yep, and that's how Dick knows. And he's just like, and as for Dick, and he's like, who? And he's like, that hard R.
Yeah, he calls him a N-word with a hard R.
Yeah, that
a cook.
Inner cook. And he's just like, oh fuck. And he's just, Jack's like, pretty much takes his side. This is where he plants the seed into Jack, like
all the way.
To pretty much excuse me, to pretty much go and fuck his family up like Mr. Grady did.
So then we cut to my cat just attacked my dog.
Yeah.
Anyway, we jump to Wendy and Danny. They're in the room. Danny's kind of trying to chill out, but he won't like be Danny right now. He keeps putting on the Tony persona, like talking in Tony's voice.
Yep.
So Wendy decides to grab this bat one more time. She's gonna go talk to Jack, try to talk some sense in him, and maybe allow her to take Danny off the mountain.
And he's definitely not ready. That's one of the things Mr. Grady told him. They're going to try to come off the mountain.
Yeah. And so she goes into his little writing room, and she starts looking at his papers, and it's just literally like stacks of papers that
the more Jack writes, the more he's a dull boy or something like that. Get out. Get the fuck out.
God, those animals, man, I swear to God.
They're fucking...
Anyway.
He's fucking... It just writes the more Jack writes. Or something like the more Jack writes, the more he's a dull boy or something.
Or it says, all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy.
Yeah, all work, no play makes Jack a dull boy.
There's a bunch of different formats. It's written differently, like straight down, backwards, all kinds of weird shit.
It's just all the formats for a story.
Literally.
And it's just written out. And that's all his story was. He's been typing that the whole fucking time because he got a book like this big. And that's all it is. All work, no play makes Jack a dull boy.
So she's reading this, and he sneaks up behind her, and he's like, "How do you like it?" And she's like, "Ah!"
Yeah, she's all freaked the fuck out. She's like, "Oh."
And he's like, "I said, how do you like it?" And then the music starts playing, the weird fucking music, like.
Yeah.
And she's like, "We need to talk," and he's like, "Okay." It's like,
let's talk.
What do you want to talk about? She's like, I think we need to get Danny out of here. You know, he's not doing good. He's not being himself, blah, blah, blah. And Jack's just freaking out, dude. He's like, you think maybe we should take him to a doctor?
Yeah. And then she's like, yes. And he's like, and maybe you think we should get off this mountain?
Yeah.
She's like, yes. And he's like, and are you scared to be up here? And she's like, yes. And he's like, and then
he's like, has it occurred to you that I have to look after this place till the fucking March or something?
And she's like, and then they're walking up the stairs by this point.
She's backing, and Jack's getting a little.
He's getting vicious. He's at that blowing point we were talking about. And
and this is where he blows. I feel like.
Yeah, he's like, get.
So she starts swinging the bat. She's like, just get away, and he's like,
yeah,
he's trying to grab it.
He's literally doing that too.
Ooh, it's creepy, dude.
And
he's like,
yeah.
He's like, give me the bat.
Yeah. And then she fucking slaps him upside the dome, right on the top of the noggin by the frontal lobe.
Knocks him down the stairs, and then
she drags him to the fucking
not the freezer, but it's food pantry.
The walk-in, but it's just a big ass food pantry.
Yeah.
Inside of like a not refrigerator, I guess. So
she locks him in there. And he wakes up and starts freaking out. He's like, you let me out of here, Wendy!
And then he all tries the whole... He's like, Wendy, baby.
He's like,
my head.
Yeah. He does try to pull that card, too.
He does, and it doesn't
He's
work.
like, I think you hit me real bad.
And
he's like, I think I need
and it's just and it just shows him space, like, leaning down the whole time. And she's like, I'm gonna be right back or something. And he's like, Wendy!
Or no, he's like... Or he's all like, Wendy. He's like, you're not going anywhere. He's like, go check out the snow cat and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Go check.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Check.
Go check it out. And then he's like, go check it out.
Yeah, he does do that. He does do that. He does, like...
And then he starts laughing, like, all insanely. And so she goes to check it out, and the fucking thing is just smashed, dude.
The distributor cap with all the spark plugs were taken out. Mm-hmm. And that's what makes a fucking car run back then.
Yep. And then she goes and checks out the radio, and we actually see Jack doing this one. I don't remember exactly.
He takes out the fuses for the radio.
All of them.
And leaves it. And so she goes and tries that, sees that the radio's not working. She doesn't look into it to see that the fuses are gone, but she knows it's not fucking working.
Yeah.
There's no connection or anything.
Yeah. And then, so then we gotta get to Dick real quick before we keep pressing on. Because I almost forgot about old Dick.
Yeah.
I'm sorry if that's your name.
It's just
a joke.
Dick's trying to go up there, and he's got a plane flight, and he's like, could you get me whatever the fuck those are called?
I think it's called a snow cat.
Yeah, a snow cat. And he's just like, well, what's the issue, Dick? And this is the automobile guy, a friend that he knows.
And he's kind of just like down the mountain.
Yeah, and he's just like, all right, I'll be up there in 4 hours. And he's just like...
Yeah, he tells him, he's like, well, I gotta go check on those people who we left to look after the Overlook, because it turns out they're complete unreliable assholes. But he knows what's going on. Yeah. Danny showed him. So he gets his snow cat, and now Dick is on the way to the rescue.
Yep.
So now we're back to Jack in the fucking pantry, and Grady starts knocking on the door, and he's like, I believe that there's still... He says, he pretty much... I don't know exactly what he says, but he pretty much tells Jack that he doesn't feel Jack is committed to the hotel.
And he kind of doesn't trust... Jack at all. He's like, you can't get the job done, essentially. Yeah. And Jack's like, he's like, one more chance.
Yeah, he's like, well, it's a little hard when I'm locked in here or something.
Yeah. And he's like, just give me one more chance. And then he hears like the door start to open and shit, and he's like,
now he's on it.
Now he's free.
So this is where he grabs the fucking axe, right?
Yep, he grabs the fucking axe, and then Grady shows up. Or not Grady, Dick shows up.
Wait, no, I think I think Jack goes to the
Oh
room
yeah,
first.
yeah. Jack goes to the room and he's got his fucking axe piece McNug.
And this is again another one of the most iconic scenes ever done in horror ever.
She locks the door, and he smashes through that one, and she's like, "Oh fuck!" So she grabs Danny, and they get into the bathroom, and he finally makes it through the first one. He's like, "Where are ya? Where are ya?" Flicking his tongue out and shit.
Yeah.
Like, so he sees that they're in the bathroom. She gets Danny out the window, and she can't fit, so she just grabs the knife, and she's just like, "Oh, ah," and sits in the shower. And this is the iconic part. He's all smashing in, and he smashes finally one door panel out. And he peeks his head, and he's like, "Here's Johnny!"
And then he sticks his hand in and tries to unlock it, and she fucking slices the top of his hand with her
knife,
butcher knife,
and
kitchen knife.
And he's like, "Ah!"
Yeah,
ah!
he's like, "Oh!" He
Yeah.
does kind of too. He's like, "Oh!"
Yeah, he does.
And
And
then,
that's when Dick shows up.
yeah, you can
and
hear
you can
the
hear
thing, and Jack's like,
Yeah.
so he leaves Wendy alone.
Yep.
And then this is another one of the most scariest scenes. It's just Dick slowly walking through the dim lit, dark, windy hotel.
And he's like,
Just,
"Hello."
Hello! And it's just, dude, the echo. It's like
completely dead.
I literally got goosebumps right now.
Yes, he does.
I do, dude, because that's like, that's fucking fear right there.
That's sketchy.
And like, I've seen this movie 1,000 times, dude, and it's crazy that I can get goosebumps thinking about that scene.
And he's just walking, and he's just like, "Hello." And then
No one there, dude.
Fucking Jack. He goes past the first two panels, and then that third panel, Jack's hiding behind it.
Yeah, and he just comes out, fucking
Bam!
right in the chest with the axe,
And
and
he's just like, "Oh!"
yeah, and
Danny.
I think when Dick got killed, Danny saw it, so he starts screaming, you know.
Yeah.
And Jack's like,
Jack.
hears Danny scream.
And the eerie part is you can hear Dick and Danny screaming at the same time while it's just showing him just.
Dude, and then like after Jack like fully kills Dick, and when he's kind of like looking down the hall, dude, that music, it's like ghost whispers. It's like, oh yeah. And then you see Danny just fly out of this pants.
Yeah,
he's like, fucking, I'm out.
He fucking dips.
And Jack starts limping after him.
Danny!
Danny boy!
And then he comes to the open door, and he knows little Danny boy is out there, so he doesn't know he's in the maze, so he's not in the maze. He's behind the fucking snowcat.
Yeah.
Slaps on all the maze lights, and he's just like, Danny! Starts running out there.
And then Wendy, in the meantime, she's running around looking for Danny, and she starts seeing all kinds of weird shit. First, she sees the blood evader, I think.
Yep, and then she turns around and she sees a fucking dude in like a hog mask with his butt cheeks out.
Yeah, it was a bear costume.
A full bear costume.
Giving a dude head.
Yeah.
And it's implied it's rumored that scene right there implies that Jack may have been sexually abusive to little Danny.
Yeah.
Which is weird. Because there's definitely some references of that in the book. Yeah, so I think that's what that scene kind of meant right there.
He's like, just sucking it. And then they both get up all angry as fuck at her for like pretty much walking in on him.
Mm-hmm.
She's winding by and she sees like a few more other things. The hotel's coming alive.
Literally, she goes into not the ballroom, but like the main lobby, and there's just fucking skeletons sitting all over the furniture.
Of all those people who were partying.
Yeah, cobwebs and shit.
Yeah, and so she's like, ah! And Danny leads his fucking father into the maze. Mm-hmm. She cuts back to the scene, and Danny's just sprinting, and all you get is Jack just, Danny!
Yeah.
Danny boy!
I'm coming, Danny! Limping and skimping and pimping.
I'm right behind you!
Yeah. And finally Wendy makes it out, and she's like towards the front of the elevator, or the front of the hotel, so she's almost out. But
actually, yeah, I think that's when she sees the blood
Yeah.
later.
Yeah.
I think that's the last thing
Yeah.
she sees. My bad.
And then Danny gets the smart idea to like fake walk his steps and then walk back in them.
Yeah, because there's snow everywhere.
And then crawl over to the side, mask his prints.
Mm-hmm. So Jack eventually reaches the end of Danny's trail, and he doesn't know what to do. And he doesn't realize it, but Danny's already fucking retracing his own steps out of the maze.
Yeah.
So
he just keeps walking around. Daddy!
And then
And
Danny makes it out and gets reunited with Wendy right at the snowcat that Dick brought in. And they're gone,
they're
man.
out that
They're
motherfucker.
fucking sayonara.
And he can hear him leaving, and he's like,
He's like, I think right there, that's when he really starts getting cold, because he's like,
yeah.
He's like holding his jacket real tight and like almost dropping the axe, dude. And he's kind of just like falling around everywhere. And
Finally, he lays the fuck down.
mm-hmm.
Then it just cuts to him like just straight frozen, like
yeah, just, or his
yeah,
eyes are
yeah,
kinda...
yeah, exactly. He's like,
yeah, I wish I still had my long hair because then I could do it better.
he's like this, and then yeah, and then he's just like,
and then the last scene is a picture
Jack.
from like 1937 or something.
And Jack is the new caretaker.
Yep, and he's the first, like the dude right in
the front.
Yeah,
And
he's a young looking Jack.
Yeah, he's a young looking Jack. And he's stuck in time with those people.
So essentially, like, and I said again, we're not gonna try to reference the book too much, but the book ended a lot more differently.
Yeah,
And I will say that Jack's character in the movie is a lot different than in the book. He's a lot more sympathetic in the book, because in the movie I feel like he's kind of on the brink of losing it in the first 10 minutes.
He's fucking
like,
always on the brink of
yeah.
losing it. In the book, you could definitely see his transformation a lot better, like
yeah,
the person he was.
and even at the end, I think he turns on the hotel himself and
yeah,
fucking blows it up. Spoiler alert.
yeah, but he does, and
that gives a chance for Danny, Wendy, and Dick, I think, to escape. I don't know if Dick lives in the book.
I
think he
remember.
does. He does
Yeah,
in
he does.
like the remake 90s Shining, which maybe we'll do sometime. Have you ever seen that one?
Yep.
Yeah. That one's a lot more based on the book. Stanley Kubrick has done that a lot with novels, made his own versions of them, like 2001, Clockwork Orange.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and that's it. That's the ending, dude. He just froze to death.
Yep.
And fucking Danny and them make it, but yeah, it's just Jack. He's the new caretaker.
And I think the whole point of showing us that picture at the end is to kind of show, like, now Jack isn't, like, I don't know, because he's always a part of the hotel, but now he's like an official in stone part of the hotel, like in this time frame.
He's the fucking new ghost.
So I feel like that's almost implying, like, no matter what they do, it's gonna happen all over again with someone else, just like it did with Jack.
Yeah.
And so on and so forth, you know, because in the book also, Jack looks at a lot of the old records and stuff of the hotel, and there's a long, nasty, violent history at the Overlook, and it just repeats and repeats and repeats, and I think that's what it is.
That's what the reference is. It's like it's not ending.
So, what's your rating?
My rating, dude, this is an iconic movie. This is straight up 10. This movie scared the fuck out of me when I was first seeing it as a kid. I don't know. This is just like one of the movies that made us.
Yeah. And horror. Yep.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. No question about it, dude. There's no way. I feel like it would be insulting to give it a 9.5.
Yeah,
it's
dude.
the fucking Shining, dude. Of course, like.
I mean, yeah, there's not like gore and shit like we like to see today, but dude,
There's not jump scares or nothing, but it's just the eeriness of it, you know?
It's one of those movies that like.
It's different.
It's different, and it's been I don't know, it's a pioneer, dog.
It really is. And it's one of Jack Nicholson's best, for
Mhm.
sure. For sure.
So I rate that motherfucker a 10.
Yeah, definitely a 10 for The Shining. 1984, directed by Stanley Kubrick, written by Stephen King. Go read the novel today.
Go read it.
I think I actually... Yeah, I have it right here. Oh, no, I don't actually. Never mind. I let someone borrow it, so sorry. Fucking...
Yeah.
Give me the bat.
Alright, freaks and geeks, we'll catch you later. That was The Shining review. We both gave it a 10 out of 10, so hell yeah.
Let's fucking... We will be doing something on my channel eventually with me and Chase, trying to spice it up a little bit.
Yeah, don't forget to check out Fern Fleck on YouTube, and
Yeah.
Field When Faded, and MC Doughboy.
Yes, sir.
Go follow all the boys.
Go follow him now.
Yes, but this is Blackheart Productions. Peace out, freaks and geeks.
Later.